Airbnb subleasing is illegal. Said of the person who obviously has no idea what they're talking about, let me break it down. Yes, Airbnb subleasing is illegal unless you actually do what I'm about to share. Hey everyone, my name is Jorge Contreras. I've been an Airbnb host since 2017, and currently we do over 6 figures a month. Here's how it breaks down, guys. In every lease agreement, it literally says in big bold letters, no subleasing allowed, because when you are renting a property for you to live in, you are not allowed to rent it out to other people without the consent of the owner. That said, when we are utilizing the Airbnb subleasing, also known as the Airbnb arbitrage strategy, we are actually getting permission in writing from the property owners. And here's the thing. A few months ago, I received a DM on Instagram. By the way, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. And this guy says, hey Jorge, the landlord just found out that I've been renting their property on Airbnb. I never had permission, and now I just got an eviction notice. And guess what? They have to now move everything out of the property and shut the business down. And this is all because they never had written permission from the owner. So how do we fix this? So the way we fix it is quite simple. Somewhere on the lease agreement, it should say the following. Your name has permission to use this property as a short-term rental and to change the locks. Now you have written permission signed by both parties, the tenants and the landlord, that you have permission to operate the property as a short-term rental. When you have permission in writing, it's no longer illegal. Now you are operating in legal terms within the consent from the owner or the property manager, giving you permission to now list this property on platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, and all the other ones out there. That said, I've also had people who have reached out to me in the past and they said, hey Jorge, the landlord has given me verbal permission, but they don't want to put it in writing. And that's a little sketchy to me, because the reality is every once in a while you're going to have a bad apple, meaning you might attract a guest that isn't the best guest. This happens in every business, right? There is no such thing as perfection. In fact, you ever see those lines when someone's in a hospital? That means they're alive, right? And if it was a straight line, they'd be dead. So the same thing in business. Business goes up and down, up and down, up and down. You're going to have some bad apples every once in a while, no matter how good your system is. And let's say the landlord gives you verbal permission but not written permission, and then there's one situation that maybe they're slightly upset about or they're disturbed about. Guess what? They can say, I never gave you written permission, so you're in violation of the lease agreement, and then boom, you get an eviction notice, and now you got to bounce. So make sure you only move forward if you can get written permission from the property owner. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. It is much appreciated. And this way you get notified of all the videos that we keep launching here every single week. The second thing that I mentioned earlier that you want written permission for is to change the locks. And for the same reason, in all lease agreements, it typically says that you're not allowed to move in and then change the locks without the permission of the property owner. It is common for landlords and or property managers to want to do a walkthrough every 6 months of the property, just to make sure that you are, keeping the property in great condition, so that when you return the property to them, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 years later, the property is in great condition. So to clarify, your name has permission to use this property as a short-term rental and to change the locks. Those are the main things that you need. I'm going to give you guys one last tip, but before I do, make sure you guys hit that like button, because it truly helps YouTube show this video to more people. So please help me help more people here on this YouTube channel. Hit that like button. I appreciate it in advance. The second thing that you want to make sure that you do in order to make this business legal and legit is get a permit from the city. All you need to do is contact the local building department and ask them if you can get a permit in order to operate your short-term rental business. The reality is there's a lot of places out there that are gray areas. What does that mean? A gray area is where they aren't issuing permits, but you can and not really should or shouldn't be operating short-term rentals, and that's kind of a weird area. And the reality is, when I started back in 2017, 95% of areas were like that. They were like yeah, you really shouldn't do short-term rentals, but there's nothing that prohibits you from doing them. And the risk is that, let's say a year later, or 8 months later, or 3 months later, or 1 month later, or few weeks later, they implement a regulation that no longer allows you to operate short-term rentals. You are doomed. So if you want to take the best approach moving forward, only operate in cities where you can get a permit. And last but not least, just a little bonus, if it has an HOA, stay away. In 90% of HOA communities, they do not allow short-term rentals. Even if the city says, yes, we'll give you a permit, that HOA community can say, we don't allow short-term rentals. And the thing about HOA communities, I always describe them often as little communist countries because they make up their own rules. So unless you're in Florida or in a super friendly HOA area, if it has an HOA, stay away. With that being said, check out the links down below. And if you want some help learning how to build a six-figure business with or without owning real estate for short-term rentals, check out all the links down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.